I believe we can go on. So let me just introduce myself once again. So my name is Szabadi. I'm the Chief Operating Officer with the Energy Year, and I will be moderating today's discussion. We are obviously very excited by the prospect of organizing this webinar brought to you by the Energy Year and sponsored by Schlumberger and INMA still, under the theme of leveraging the crisis to build local strength in Saudi Arabia, a topic and an area that I believe is at the very top of oil and gas and energy companies' agenda these days. Now, as people are still joining, I'm just gonna explain quickly a few housekeeping items before I introduce our panelists and we kick off the discussion. At the bottom bar of your Zoom application, feel free to use the Q&A box if you have any questions for the panelists. I will be reading those questions as we go through the panel discussion, and we will have a 10-15 minutes Q&A session at the end of the discussion. You will also see a couple of Zoom polls coming up throughout the discussion, which we encourage you all to complete, and we will share the results at various times during the webinar. You will also be receiving a link in the chat box, so please be on the lookout for that with some information about the Energy Year in case you have any questions after the webinar. Now, without further ado, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our wonderful group of panelists today. Our panel is made up of esteemed executives of Saudi Arabia's energy industry, and I believe that with close to 100 years of combined experience in the global oil and gas sector. Our first speaker is Ziad Jeha. Welcome, Ziad, the president of Schlumberger for Saudi Arabia and Bahrain. A company that needs no introduction, the world's leading provider of technology to the oil and gas industry. Ziad has been with Schlumberger for the past 28 years in various positions across the GCC and other countries. He's a board member of the Saudi Petroleum Services Polytechnic Institute, and he also sits on the board of the Saudi Arabia Drilling Academy. Hence, he does bring a lot of experience when it comes to training, localization, and managing business through challenging environments. Our next speaker is Muntaser Kalahji, managing director at INMA Steel, a subsidiary of a very established group, Al Turki Holding. INMA Steel is known as a leading company that specializes in engineer-to-order process equipment and specialized industrial maintenance services. Prior to joining INMA Steel as managing director in 2020, he was the CEO of Abu Nayan Holding between 2016 and 2020, one of the longest active companies in the power and water business in Saudi Arabia. So welcome, Muntaser, and thank you for joining our discussion. Our third speaker is Safwat Hakam, country director of Rockwell Automation for Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Lebanon, Jordan, and Egypt. So quite a few countries fall under your responsibility, Safwat. Rockwell is a leader in industrial automation and information globally. He has been with the company for the past close to 20 years, and he has executed numerous complex projects with the company in Saudi and the region. Safwat is an expert in the area of industrial transformation, automation and control, and a passionate believer in digital transformation and digital competencies. And last but not least, we have with us Gavin Ames, Executive Vice President of Zamil Operations and Maintenance Company, which he joined in March 2019. The company is known to be among the leading providers of operations and maintenance services in the country, and an expert in operating in remote and challenging locations. Prior to joining Zamil Operations and Maintenance, Gavin served as Vice President, Director, and CEO at the helm of multiple companies, including Atco and Lucy Switchgear in Saudi. So welcome once again, gentlemen. Thank you very much for making yourself available for this discussion. I'm sure our audience will be thrilled to hear what you have to say, and I guess they are all very keen to capture any conclusions and suggestions that might come out of this webinar. So today's webinar will delve into several topics regarding the current situation of the oil market, that was, as we all know, swept by the pandemic and the price collapse. Our panelists will provide their valuable insights on what best practices has been put in place during these current times in Saudi Arabia's energy sector. And they will also further discuss how to enhance local capabilities and capture value in the kingdom's energy value chain. Finally, I believe that we will be providing an examination of the country's oil industry in a new post-pandemic environment and what sort of opportunities are likely to emerge in Saudi Arabia's energy sector going forward. Without further ado, let's move on to our first topic and our first question, which stands as how are the kingdom's energy companies leveraging the recession to embrace R&D, cost optimization, and the deployment of new technology. Ziad, let me move to you. Let me start with you. We have been living through unprecedented times due to the two black swan events of 2020. And of course, many say the oil industry is experiencing a shock like no other in its history. It is, however, very clear that digitalization and research and development have become top priorities for the oil and gas sector around the globe. And we can see that there is an urgency for reinvention. Now, Saudi Arabia has really become an incubator for advanced technologies throughout the past couple of years. And now we are seeing Aramco setting ambitious goals to become a fully digitalized company by 2022. The challenges that are lying ahead, there are some, of course. Many oil producing nations still face a disconnect between the deep investments in R&D and fourth industrial revolution and the timely scale up of viable technologies. You at the helm of Schlumberger, you have opened the Middle East Center for Reliability and Efficiency, I think 4 years ago. If you look at the country now, how do you view the progress the country's oil and gas sector has made in terms of digital transformation and smart manufacturing? And how do you think the domestic industry can leverage this digital journey to take advantage of current opportunities today?
Thank you, Peter. First, I would like to wish everybody Eid Mubarak. We have just passed Eid al-Adha, and I want to wish everybody and the audience Eid Mubarak. And also, I want to thank you, Peter, and thank the Energy Year for giving me the opportunity to share with the audience and with you and my colleagues our experience here in Schlumberger in the crisis of COVID-19 during these challenging times. So to answer your question, Peter, you know, in Saudi Arabia, one of the main pillars of the Vision 2030 of Saudi Arabia is really digital transformation. Right. It really opens the door for many international companies to invest and develop specific technologies in that respect and deploy it in the operations. Now, we as Schlumberger has been leading many digital initiatives in our operations in order to bring our customers, Saudi Aramco, efficiency and performance. You know, the newly established joint venture between us and Rockwell Automation is a real demonstration for such leadership in this domain. Us bringing the deep knowledge of the oil and gas industry, and also Rockwell with their rich experience in automation as being the leaders in this field. And that JV actually will pave the way for us towards more digital and automation projects going forward. And we have a call for here on our call. Safwat is there from the automation from Rockwell. He will talk more about it. But I can tell you, we have had several good progresses here in Saudi Arabia when it comes to you know, investment in digital and also in new technologies. And we've always been a believer in Schlumberger of investing in new technologies, namely because we see these technologies or new technologies help us improve our efficiency and performance and bring us better returns. Now, during the pandemic, Peter, you know, we have worked on many different fronts to ensure mainly two things. One, the safety and the well-being of our employees and their families. Two, to ensure our business continuity through the crisis management team that I'm leading here in Saudi Arabia. And during that business continuity of the crisis, we have utilized many technologies that allowed us to operate with minimum human interface and also remotely because we had had some limited access and mobility, especially during the lockdown and the curfew that took place here in Saudi Arabia. And I'll give you a few examples of this deployment of digital technology and remote operations, if you want, in Saudi Arabia. You know, we have conducted and have been actually conducting remote well logging and remote drilling operations in Saudi Arabia for our clients. We have been doing it before the pandemic, but of course the pandemic expedited the use of this methodology. And simply, you know, we have an engineer who is sitting in Bahrain city who can be operating a wireline logging, well logging, or a drilling for 100 miles away from the city itself. And of course, bringing the data, which is you know, of high data quality to be verified and has been verified from our clients. So this is, if you want, an example of this. I can give you another example also is the use of automation in our drilling operations, where we have automated some of the activities on our rigs using artificial intelligence by deploying smart sensors on the rigs and also using software that enables artificial intelligence functions and therefore improves the efficiency, but also decreases the human interface. And we have used this. It helped us actually more during the pandemic. So while we are still deploying our new technology in Saudi Arabia, we maintain our efforts on our commitment to reduce carbon emission. I know that we have talked about this in the past, but you know, this is something that we are still focused even in the pandemic.
Right.
And an example is, I can tell you that we're using certain you know, technologies in our operations where we flow back, we flow our wells or Aramco wells with zero carbon footprint. So in general, Peter, our journey in digital front is there. We will continue. This is a strategic element for Schlumberger going forward. And we've seen the benefit of digital manifesting itself specifically during the pandemic. And let's remember that the Kingdom is accelerating this initiative, which encourages us and also should encourage many international players to invest and adapt such you know, digital initiatives. And of course, we in Schlumberger are looking for many opportunities to work in collaborations with Saudi Aramco, because Saudi Aramco also, our client, is very much, you know, strategically looking at the IR 4.0 in their operations, and they're very active in this respect.
Right.
So that's basically the views of Schlumberger in its digital and new technology, where we could see that it helped us very much in the pandemic. On the, you mentioned our, you know, Center of Reliability, we call it the CRE. This is again something that had to do with the local content, where we have, you know, taking the leverage off during the pandemic. This is the center that is the maintenance center for all our tools, drilling tools and wireline logging and testing and many others. That is serving in Saudi Arabia as a hub for our operations. We maintain, we enter these tools into the center and we maintain it, and we send it back to the operations in a very high efficiency turnaround. And it has proved very well worthwhile during the pandemic, where it was fast, it was efficient, and it you know, continued you know, our operations flawlessly and smoothly.
Right, right, absolutely. Thank you, Ziad. I imagine that, and based on our discussion previously, it's very clear that Schlumberger has brought and keeps bringing many new technologies to the table. And I'm sure that Safwat will indeed touch upon the importance of Sensia as well, a very interesting story. Muntaser, let me move on to you. Now, speaking of research and development, big data, artificial intelligence, we know that the journey to achieve all these things is quite long, and associated investments are huge. Now, a lot of the local companies in Saudi Arabia, or if you look across the region as well, they are still in mid-cycle in terms of the implementation or on their journey towards digital transformation. For those who are ahead of the maturity curve or at a more advanced stage, they are surely better prepared to face the crisis today. So what progress do you think Saudi Arabia's local services companies made to deploy new technologies and develop the manufacturing ability for bespoke solutions that can ultimately lead to cost optimization today?
Thank you, Peter. And gentlemen, thank you very much for our audience and our panelists. And كل عام وانتم بخير, Eid Mubarak. The topic you're raising, Peter, is really quite interesting topic for us at INMA Steel. We have been, of course, this is something we've been working on, but now during the pandemic, it was very obvious and clear that we need to change and challenge our thinking. So during this pandemic, at certain point of time, we had to work with reduced manpower. We couldn't have our full force on site to complete the jobs. So you need to be creative, innovative in looking how you want to progress from there. So we've been saying that we need always to try to do more with less. So we need to produce more and deliver more and be on our commitments with, if the situation requires less manpower, with less resources. So how to achieve that? So we've been working on our lean manufacturing processes in the value stream mapping. So we've been working heavily during that, even during the pandemic, with our engineering teams and our industrial methods teams to work on eliminating waste and automating part of the processes that we're having in our manufacturing lines. We have managed to achieve really, I mean, you're saying that when you are in need, the creativity and the innovation becomes really a must. Actually, we have seen that. We have been able to deliver and to meet our commitments and even deliver some products ahead of time during the pandemic, because really it was working in crisis mode and challenging the time. So with our value stream mapping exercises, with the waste elimination exercise that we have been doing, with the investments that we put and we're putting now on modernizing our production lines and automating part of the processes, it was really a big boost and a big change of the challenge to the status quo of how we used to do business. Now that's part of this story. The second part of the story is that really you are working and you need to have a heavy engagement with the customer. So then it becomes really the question is that how you do that. So of course we have the ERP implementations that we're doing. We are doing the process mapping reviews as we go. But what we're aiming for is really something more than that. What we're aiming and what we're actually doing now is that we're trying to become a visible organization, a transparent organization to our customers. During the pandemic and during the lockdown period, we have been successful in delivering some critical equipment by conducting, for example, factory acceptance test witnessing for customers online. So we set up the cameras, we walked on the customers on our factory acceptance test. We had a lot of meetings with the customers. In fact, we made it like a challenge for us that we need to increase our customer engagement, where actually we don't see customers anymore. They're not visiting as often as before. So we want to bring the customers in our plants, even virtually, through online items. So that's really an area that we're working heavily on. And part of our value stream mapping is not only the product movement, but also the information movement. So what we're trying to do now and what we're going to implement in the coming, hopefully next month, we'll go live with our next module by next month, is to be able to provide a real-time progress for our customers on our manufacturing and equipment deliveries. So, customers will be able to know the process, the progress, and even witness virtually online to see where his project is going, and we're progressing with that. We're proud to say that we have not stopped operation during the pandemic. We kept running, sometimes with reduced manpower, sometimes we go back to almost full capacity. But what we're proud to say that we have managed to deliver so many projects ahead of the deadline time. Sure. Because during the pandemic, Aramco, Sabic, Maad, and all our esteemed clients, there are kind of projects that have capex nature, so you're putting greenfield or brownfield, but there are some other nature of projects that are of OpEx nature. So you need that product or equipment that we manufacture to maintain the potential, to maintain the project going, to maintain the continuity of supply. That was really where we have differentiated ourselves, and we have been there here to our customers during the pandemic to manage the OpEx and to make sure that continuity of supply goes on. So as it's a journey. We're not at the end of the end. We're not even at the end of the beginning, but we're on our way there, and we have very ambitious targets to achieve. We have made several milestones on the progress, and we're looking forward to complete our journey.
Very good. Thank you, Muntaser. I couldn't agree with you more. I don't think we are at the end. I think we are learning new things on a daily basis in order for us to adapt to this new reality, as we call it. So thank you for your perspectives on that. Safwat, now we are seeing Saudi Aramco entering into agreements with several companies for digitalization of its operations. And of course, these agreements aim to increase yield and improve reliability. Now, if I just look at the global automation market, it was poised to grow significantly prior to the crisis and eventually reach a market value of up to $12 billion by 2024. I would imagine that the current crisis will only accelerate that sort of progress. Where does Saudi Arabia's energy sector stand today, in your opinion, in terms of the existing room for technological collaboration on research and development, and also knowledge transfer in the area of big data and automation?
Thank you, Peter, and thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to talk to the audience here and to the audience. Eid Mubarak. To your question, and in Rockwell Automation, continuing on the comments from Ziad and Muntaser about digitalization, and in Rockwell, actually, what we do is we invent the tools that make our customers able to implement or go through digitalization journey. I've been long enough in the area working with customers like Saudi Aramco and other customers in the area. And I remember 20 years ago when we was talking about automation, converting the manual operations of the customers into automated operations. And I'm lucky enough to be here again when we are talking to the customers again about moving to a higher level of automation, which is what we call it the digitalization journey of the customers. Digitalization is all about making use of the data available at the customer sites. All the customers, we have a lot of data available at our sites. How we can use these data to make better decisions, how we can use data to be able to know the availability of our machines, to be able to know, to plan the production in a better way, to anticipate, the preventive maintenance, for example, to anticipate if a machine would fail within a certain period, to move from a periodic maintenance schemes that cost a lot of money and time into a more planned maintenance schemes that is planned based on expectations of when machines is when it is expected to fail, or to make a better use of the spares as well. Sometimes we have seen customers do periodic changes for bearing of motors or fans or stuff like that, where those bearings cost a lot of money, and when they change them, actually, there is still a lot of lifetime remaining in those spare parts that we change it. Through the new tools that we present to our customers, we can help them to better use those spare parts to the limit of where actually they need to be changed, and not to change them based on periodic periodic changes. Ziad and Muntaser, they spoke about the remote doing factory acceptance test remotely or stuff like that, we provide tools like the Vuforia Chuck. Vuforia Chuck is a software that can help our customers to remotely connect to their, if you are doing a factory acceptance test, you can connect your customer to your plant and
right.
and have the experience of the acceptance test. Also, it can help operations like Saudi Aramco, for example, for better use for the expertise. Expertise these days is it's not easy to replace the amount of expertise that we are having. We all know that the education system is not producing enough technical resources as it used before. So to make best use of the experiences and the experienced people that we have, using a software like Chuck, an expert can actually work with several new employees in remote places and give them instruction on a step-by-step how to do a job or how to perform a maintenance procedure exactly like if he would do it himself.
Sure.
And so sharing the same screen, he can point out to them on a step-by-step how to do it and all these sort of things.
Right.
In Rockwell as well, we believe in collaboration and instead of trying to invent everything by ourselves, working with other companies that they have a lot of experience in different fields. So one of the examples is Sensia, and thinking about Sensia, the idea was to create an entity which it never existed before. It's an entity that it can cover everything in the digital oil field, starting from providing the sensors, the expertise about the drilling and the the oil and gas expertise, sure, and the automation expertise and digitalization as well. Another thing, when we thought about digitalization, and instead of thinking about the whole thing and inventing it from the beginning, we collaborated with PTC. PTC is a worldwide leader in that field. And by doing that, we was able to provide solutions and services to the market that differentiate us from all the others in the system.
And I imagine we're going to touch upon some of the items and the tools that Sensia is bringing or has brought to the table. But before doing so, I would like to move on to Gavin. But even before that, here's our first poll coming up. And I would like to encourage you all to please take a look at it. So the question stands as, what is the best strategy to navigate the oil supply and demand crisis during the coronavirus pandemic? Cut costs, invest in R&D, embrace digital transformation, or identify alternative cost optimization strategies. And that ties in very well with what we have been discussing as of now. We will pull up the results after moving to Gavin. So in the meantime, I will be doing that. And I can submit my vote. Gavin, now let me move on to you. There is obviously a huge opportunity to enhance process efficiency in the construction, maintenance, and the project management sector going forward. It has become clear that refineries and even petrochemical players in the region or in Saudi Arabia, they do expect digital to be embedded in the project execution plans of their contractors. So in a way, times have changed. The value proposition is now more focused on the future, as opposed to being based purely on technical compliance and lowest cost. How do you view the current incentives available for local private enterprises to invest into research and development, which is supposed to hold the key to the country's economic reset? And what has been your biggest takeaway if you look back in the past couple of months to working with new technologies throughout the crisis?
First of all, Peter, thank you for the opportunity to talk today. Very much appreciated. And may I also wish everybody Eid Mubarak. I think it's a very interesting question. As a service company, and a long-established service company, what we've tried to do from a corporate strategy point for a couple of years now is move away from our traditional labor-intensive service model into more technology, which helps us reduce our manpower, helps us give a better offering to our customer base, and also helps us to further improve our Saudiization, which is very important and a bedrock part of Vision 2030. I think there are opportunities and there are ways to gain traction with new technology, with investment in new technology. But one thing we do see, we see some of our customers embracing new technology. For example, we have a project ongoing where we're using thermal solar heating for boiler feed water heating. It's quite an interesting pilot project, but there's obviously a renewable environmental aspect to it, and also a cost saving in terms of not using fossil fuels for heating the boiler feed water. And that's been driven both by ourselves with a partner and with a client who see the benefits there. But one thing the market needs to really push forward with R&D and new technology is a bit of a change in some of the contracting philosophies. As long as contractors are driven to a price position based on quite a rigid scope of supply, sometimes it's very difficult to introduce new technology because it may then be a deviate from the sort of scope of service, scope of supply. So certainly we see some shoots there where customers are grasping the opportunities. Certainly we ourselves see the need within the kingdom to further develop technology and to move away from the old way of working. And I think the recent pandemic has proved that any labor-intensive service in Saudi Arabia is really impacted by issues such as, borders closing, etc. If you can't bring people in, if you can't get people out, if you've got key people away on business or on vacation when borders are locked. So I think it's important to look to develop in new technology. Certainly Vision 2030 supports it, and I think we all understand the criticality of Vision 2030 to Saudi Arabia. It's the right plan. It needs to happen. I think the progress is good. Saudi Aramco's ICTVA supports technology, R&D, investment, but I do feel there needs to be a link between sort of the ability to make alternative bids, because sometimes that can be the challenge, in that new technology means a new way of working, means a different approach, and if the bid slate can't cope with that, then it's very difficult to take it forward. Does that ring true with other panelists in terms of the ability to innovate?
Absolutely. By all means, very, very comprehensive answer indeed. And I'm looking forward to hearing more about your new technologies, and eventually we're going to talk about ICTVA in the next session of discussions. I'm sure you can bring some of those up there. But before doing that, let's take a look at the poll results to the question that we have just featured earlier. So once again, the question was, what is the best strategy to navigate the oil supply and demand crisis during the coronavirus pandemic? And I'm looking at the polling results, which should come up in a bit. There we go. So embracing digital transformation seems to be the winner here, as to identifying cost optimization strategies. That seems to be very popular amongst our audience, as opposed to obviously cutting costs. And that only shows once again that the discussion, and we have touched upon this, from simply reducing the unit cost per barrel is really moving towards the public and the private sector working together to identify new technologies that will eventually lead to cost optimization strategies. There is one important aspect here, in addition to these multiple choices that we have eventually listed here, and that's preserving workforce and preserving the experience of your employees. And there is obviously a need to find smart ways to maximize employment. And I believe that local content comes in handy for that very purpose. So the second question of our discussion revolves around how players in the country work together with Saudi Aramco to further strengthen local capabilities and domestic manufacturing during the climate. Ziad, during our individual discussion, we talked about ICTWA, which has 5 years by now, and it was eventually created to baseline measure and drive increased level of localization in the supply chain. So by 2021, there is an ambitious target set, which is to achieve 70% localization of all spending and eventually enable 30% export of Saudi energy sector products. So that's an ambitious goal. On top of that, Aramco has lately been promoting to master energy development hubs or plans in the Eastern Province to boost local content, one of which is, as we all know, Spark. Now, Schlumberger has established its world-class manufacturing center in Spark right when the crisis hit the industry in February 2020. So interesting times for the company and for the industry as a whole. What role do you think investments such as yours play in boosting local content in the kingdom's energy sector? And how crucial do you think similar establishments can be to the local industry's ability to navigate the current crisis?
Yeah. You know, Peter, our journey in establishing the local content in Saudi Arabia started actually 8 years ago when we first logged the first well here in Saudi Arabia in Dammam back in 1941. Since then, we have been recruiting and developing our local content, and our local talent has been developed throughout the years with us. And I'm very proud to tell you that we have had a good number, currently we have a very good number of local Saudis that are in both senior management positions and technical positions. And of course, we maintain our focus on diversifying our local talents. We are engaged in also in developing females within Schlumberger in general and also in specifics here in Saudi Arabia. You know, when also it comes to, you know, the local talent and, you know, the development as part of our commitment for the ICTVA, we are extending our engagement with the local technical academies that you've mentioned in your opening. You know, we're also engaged with the Saudi Petroleum Services Polytechnic Academic School, SPSP, also in Saudi Arabia Drilling Academy, and in NITI and in LANA and in others, that is actually supported by Saudi Aramco and by the government, whereby we you know, sponsor young Saudi nationals, and we train them and we take them later on into our operations. And I'm very happy to say that those fresh graduates, they are really paying off, and we witness that through their performance, that they are covering many jobs for us and they're doing very well in our field operations. So this is a caliber where we continue investing in through all the initiatives that we have. Of course, we're still recruiting from universities, but really those local academies where we get our local technical skills out there in the field. Our commitment will continue in this. This is part of the ICTVA, as I said, and you know, I'm pleased to say that all these investments that we have done in the local employees has really paid off during the pandemic, where you know, the airports were closed, the whole country was locked down, and we couldn't get our people from outside. We really depended on those local talents to continue our operations and maintain our business continuity. And you know, we never stopped. We never stopped any day. This is a vital sector, as you know, and we had to continue our operations. And we really we're dependent on our local talent in that respect. Of course, you know, there are other factors that helped us in the pandemic, where the ICTVA had paid off. Is you know, you asked me about the Center of Reliability that we have. Again, that played a real role in you know, making sure that we have enough tools, enough maintained tools that are in good conditions to maintain our business continuity. That is an investment that we made 7 years ago, and you know, it's been operational for a few years, and it also paid off. I can tell you, for example, also the manufacturing center that we have recently opened in February this year, just before the crisis started. This is where in the King Salman Energy Park, Spark, that has also played a role and will play a role going forward, where we will be manufacturing tools, subsurface tools for wells and surface tools to support our operations and our business here for Saudi Aramco, and also even expand it outside Saudi Arabia into neighboring countries. And you know, we don't stop at those manufacturing and maintenance centers. I'm talking to you today from the Bahrain Techno Valley, where our research center is placed. And this is the center that we've established in 2006, where we have a good number of scientists from international expertise and also from the local that are working in collaborations with Saudi Aramco and also with other customers outside Saudi on certain research projects going forward. I don't want to forget our engagement also when it comes to the local content with academia. You know, we have been engaged with many universities across. Our neighboring university here is the King Fahd University of Petroleum and Minerals. And I want to just touch on one base here. During the pandemic, we worked in collaboration with them in you know, making face shields for the pandemic. We were able to, you know, produce hundreds of face shields in collaboration with them through the entrepreneurship institute that they have. That face shields were distributed in the community here that helped, you know, the hospitals and the healthcare in certain aspects.
Right.
We're working also with them on, you know, some automation and digital platforms or applications where we measure, you know, the physical distancing or the crowd management that is going to help us really in this pandemic. So really our journey started 8 years ago, Peter, and you know, we're seeing the value of the investments that we have doing. It has been manifested specifically during the pandemic, and this is a journey that will continue. We will continue investing in developing our local talents and also in establishing local centers that will help our operations, not only in Saudi Arabia, but also in across the neighboring countries. This is part of our strategy aligned with the Vision 2030 of the Kingdom.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ziad. I mean, we look forward to seeing how some of those, you know, well completion technologies will keep on contributing to the local industry going forward, coming out from your new manufacturing center, indeed. Muntaser, over the last couple of months, we have seen, of course, the interruption of the global supply chain with factories shutting down in China and Europe, as a result of which, obviously, oil-producing nations started to look inward. Now, with COVID-19 demanding new thinking and actions on local content in oil and energy, what best practices do you think local manufacturers can take or should be taking to position themselves today as an integral part of the local oil and gas value chain?
Thank you, Peter. Yeah, indeed, actually, this testing period, I would say, over the past couple of months has been testing us on all levels, on testing our resilience, our ability to deliver. And it has proven more than ever that what we have been seeing in the Vision 2030 in terms of localization and the increment of the local content, actually it's a need and it's a necessity for the economy in general. So it's not only impacting the social dimension of the country, but it has real impact on the economical dimension of the country. We are, I would say, we're lucky because we have been positioned as a local manufacturer and a local integral part of the value chain of our customers. And again, with our position today in Jubail, we are almost 1 hour away from any customer's call. So what we have seen is that really during these difficult times, it was very critical and important to maintain heavy engagement with the customers, to understand the needs, the priorities, and where things will be more crucial. In that aspect, what we have done, for example, in INMA Steel, we have understood clearly where the customer's pain will be, what are the critical to continue and critical to operation for the plants. We have taken our customers into, I would say, a virtual tour over our inventory. So we have shared our inventories with the customers, with the different plants in Aramco and SABIC and so on. And we explain to them clearly where we can help and where we can position ourselves. So we understood that when it comes to OpEx requirement, when it comes to operation continuity and maintaining the potential, it's been a critical item. So we diverted all our forces and we diverted all our focus into producing these items. At the end, we have been, again, a reliable partner for our customers. We have been an integral part of the value chain. And you'll be surprised, but for these particular items, the orders intake, because we have been able to deliver to customers almost ahead of time, our order intake year to year from these OpEx items and these particular products have doubled compared to last year. If I compare 2019 to 2019, because we have been able to deliver and meet the customer requirements even ahead of the contractual delivery date, they've been pushing more orders to us. And we have in certain line items, we have almost 200% growth in these items during the pandemic. Of course, again, we're not naive. We understand that the big elephant projects, the CapEx type of projects, there has been projects prolongation and there has been some delay. But nevertheless, opportunities are always there when you are local, when you are on the ground, when you are close to the customers, when you're in control of your value chain and supply chain, you can always grab the opportunity and you can always be a real value to your customers. And that's been a very clear message that has done in the last period.
Sure.
One of the other things, not only on the product side, but also on the people side, you know, we are close to customers. They need our intervention. They need our availability on site. So, and we understand that we are in a pandemic. People are concerned about their safety. So probably what we have done, we've done something maybe not many companies have done. We have done 100% testing of COVID-19 of all our employees. So we're sure that whenever a customer needs people on site, the people we're sending to site are safe and tested, and we're making sure that, of course, it gave a lot, of course, of positive impact on the people also itself, on our team, saying the feeling that we are taking care of them and we're taking care of their health and safety. But also from the customer side and the customer end, whenever they need people, whenever they need a site intervention, whenever they need troubleshooting, they know they can rely on us, not because of the availability of equipment and proceed, but also the health and safety of that people. So that was really a very nice experience that we have gone through, and the interaction and the feedback we received from customers has been really a heart blessing for us.
I imagine so. And that sort of growth figure that you have mentioned for some of your new items clearly shows that companies are eventually tapping into niche.
Actually, we're lucky because, you know, we've just expanded to a new facility last year. So we have now 65,000 square meter facilities. So with this expansion and with this pandemic, we had really all flexibility to move around. So I would say our expansion came just in the right time to be able to take additional loads and to be able to have the flexibility required really to maneuver and deliver what customer needs.
Sure. Thank you very much, Muntaser. Safwat, we talked about a new area of partnerships, which requires multinational companies to leverage local partnership to eventually drive increased localization in the country. If you look at local content as we speak, what are some of the key areas where you think local capabilities can be further strengthened in Saudi Arabia and its energy sector today?
Thank you, Peter. Actually, in Rockwell, we recognized very early the Vision 2030 and the Activa program of Aramco, and we we believe that those programs are really important, are really crucial to the development of the Saudi Arabia as a country. Based on that, we have moved our operation. We have now in Saudi Arabia operation of Rockwell Automation. And the main aim while we was doing that is to do a knowledge transfer, not just to start a local branch that will increase our numbers. We had in the background of our mind that we need to do a knowledge transfer and build local capabilities that will maintain our existence in that market for a long time. One of the programs that we have done in this area, we called it graduate program, where we take fresh graduates from universities, Saudis. We put them through a 1-year intensive training program in our international offices in US and in Europe. And then we bring them back to the Saudi after we have done an intensive knowledge transfer to those graduates so they can carry on and take care of transferring our technologies and our services to the customer. I'm proud that out of this program, I have 2 female engineers. They are pillars to my operation in Saudi, and they are delivering very good services and a very good value to the Saudi market. In total, I have 8 Saudi engineers working in my team, and they are extremely competent, and they are proud being part of a technology company like Rockwell Automation. We also invested too much in partnering with other companies in the country. So instead of doing everything by ourselves and have it all concentrated, we go and look in the local companies that exist in Saudi Arabia, and we have what's called channels program, and either we assign them as system integrators or solution providers, and we invest in training the staff of those companies and do knowledge transfer about our products and how they can carry those products to the market and help the market get use of those products.
Sure.
We are also evaluating in the future working with Aramco, and we have had several meetings with Aramco about Spark and about the ability of Rockwell Automation to actually move in some of the, hopefully in the future, some of the manufacturing activities into Saudi Arabia. So we believe too much in the Vision 2030, and we believe too much in the Activa program, and we are working very close with Aramco and with all our customers in Saudi to deliver on those programs.
Right. You mentioned a very important thing, working with local companies. If I just look at the current market, Gavin, now, we can see that in Saudi Arabia, around 37, I think 40% of the market of the oilfield services and the equipment sector is dominated by partnerships between multinational companies and local players. What does it tell you about the domestic energy sector's resilience to cope with the current challenges, Gavin? And how important do you think also public-private partnerships will be going forward to optimize local content?
Well, I think the whole topic of local content is key going forward. I mean, as a part of the Zamil group, we're celebrating our 100th anniversary this year. We're a Saudi-owned business. We view Saudi, rightly so, as our main market and our priority. In terms of public-private partnerships, I think if you look again at Vision 2030 and what Saudi Arabia needs to move away from reliance on the government to finance everything, and it's a big challenge for any government to finance everything, especially when the economy is very hydrocarbon reliant, and we've seen what the oil price has done. Okay, recently, but even over the last 3 or 4 years, the challenges of the oil price. So, for me, we've mentioned it already. Vision 2030 is key. The various aspects of Vision 2030 are key. The ability of Saudi businesses to find international partners who have a shared strategy and a shared corporate identity to really develop things in Saudi Arabia is key. Because Saudi Arabia, as far as market is concerned, is always going to be a strong market. It's a big country, it's got a young population, there's lots of demand. You know, that the hydrocarbon industry is obviously well established, but Vision 2030 is going to drive many other opportunities. But I think what everybody has to understand about partnerships and development in Saudi Arabia is that it's not a quick fix. You don't sort of jump in, make some money and jump out. If you look at Schlumberger's commitment to Saudi Arabia is decades and decades and decades long. And I'm sure Ziad will agree with me that that commitment gains strength as every year passes. It's not a case of saying we've been here 40 years, so we're going to be here and we don't have to do anything. Everyone who's here has to drive it forward. So I really see, I see huge opportunities, and I think we talk about partnerships, we talk about knowledge transfer, we talk about best practice. And this best practice, this knowledge transfer helps drive a larger Saudiization into the workforce at all levels, which is critical going forward. And I think Saudi companies, we understand it. We invest heavily in our workforce. We invest as Zamil Operations and Maintenance, and we invest as Zamil Group. When we look for partners, and because of the group and the size of us, many companies come to us wanting to work with us. But if they're not fully buying into the real spirit of partnership and Vision 2030 and what Saudi Arabia needs and what the Zamil Group needs, but what the Zamil Group needs for Saudi Arabia, then we don't want to work with people who don't want to. So I really see a lot of opportunity. I see a lot of blue sky, but it needs companies to come into the market with their eyes open and to really commit and invest. So for me, public-private partnerships are a way forward. Different sources of investment. Look at what Sargia have done to try and improve foreign direct investment. Everything to try and make Saudi Arabia a more structured economy rather than a pure hydrocarbon reliance. But so that the support is there from the government, the support is there from Sargia, the support is there from the SIDF, the Saudi Industrial Development Fund, the support is there from HRDF for human resources. Everything's there, but it just needs willing partners.
Right. That's a very powerful message, Gavin. Thank you very much for that. No, it's indeed a very interesting discussion so far. We are running a bit over schedule, but we still have a very important topic to touch upon, and I would like to bring in some questions from the audience as well. So let's touch upon on that third topic, which revolves around opportunities in the country going forward, both in upstream, downstream, and obviously the wider energy industry. I think we can all agree that we have seen quite a few interesting and exciting announcements in the midst of the crisis. I mean, starting in December last year with the successful IPO of Saudi, followed by a 70% stake acquisition in SABIC, which clearly signals the willingness of the NOC to enhance its presence in the global petrochemical industry. Recently, we have seen Aramco moving forward with an ambitious plan to develop the Jafurah tight gas field. And on the top of all this, there is also ambitious development plans laid out through a more than $500 million fund that will promote energy efficiency and renewable technologies. Ziad, I understand that Schlumberger also opened a new energy division, which will eventually deploy its own set of technologies and practices to reduce its carbon footprint associated with, of course, exploration and production. If you look at the country as we speak today, where do you see most room for growth in Saudi Arabia's energy industry going forward for a services company? And how do you think the current challenges will influence the country's transition to a low carbon economy?
Yeah, so, there are, for me, we see many opportunities that Saudi Arabia brings to the international investors. Of course, we can talk about the energy sector, but, even within the energy sector, there are other areas of opportunities for us and for other international investors, namely in the integrated models that Saudi Aramco, integrated business model that Saudi Aramco is embarking on. And also the carbon capture, utilization and storage, the CCUS, which is something that Saudi Arabia is embarking on, and I see many opportunities here for many investors. As Gavin said, there are lots of opportunities. This country is huge by opportunities. It's very big by area, and also the opportunities are there. Let's remember that Saudi Arabia is one of the world's 20 most competitive economies worldwide. It's the second easiest country in which business can be done in the Middle East and North Africa. It is ranked number 8 globally in the freedom of fiscal freedom. So, there are many initiatives that the government also has made to encourage investors from outside. Let's also touch on, the resources that are available. They have had a big number of young populations that are well educated, and they are ready to be also part of this economy. So as far as Schlumberger is concerned, we are also benefiting, and I think other international investors or new investors will benefit. I'll give you examples like SAJA, which is the Saudi Arabia General Investment Authority, what Gavin has mentioned, that helps foreign investors to establish themselves by providing the support for them from regulations, from visas, even in finance support in certain conditions. For us, we have benefited from the industrial city authority, both in the Modern Dammam area, where we established our maintenance and reliability center, and also in the Spark King Salman Energy Park. There's also many other industrial areas like the industrial maritime city in Ras Al Khair. So really the government is doing lots of initiatives and is smoothening the way for many investors to come. This is the land of opportunities for investors, and as Gavin said also, that they need to come and see, and they need to look at what is available in the local talent, but the opportunities are there, and I have no doubt that it will continue to be there. It is, again, the 2030 vision to not only work on the oil and gas energy sector, but also to diversify the economy. So the infrastructures are there, the initiatives are there, the government are making huge initiatives to attract foreign investors to come. So look, we've been here for the last 80 years. We're going to stay till the last drop of oil, and now we're opening a new energy sector to be in. But it is for any other companies. I encourage many investors to come here. It's the land of opportunities. I'm very confident that there are plenty of them. Also, post the pandemic will materialize more and more for the mutual benefits for us as Schlumberger and for many other companies.
Right. Thank you, Ziad. That's very encouraging to hear. And obviously that sort of land of opportunities that you have mentioned that exists very much beyond upstream. If you look at, even renewables, or we look at downstream per se, Muntaser, we have seen recently Saudi Aramco deciding and announcing to reorganize its downstream business, eventually to enhance the effectiveness of downstream assets and maximize value capture. So we are seeing some new commercial business units. If you look at downstream, I know it's important for your company. How do you view opportunities there in the downstream sector from the perspective of a domestic manufacturer? And do you expect more push and protection for local manufacturing for specific downstream projects?
Indeed, yes. I would say that what we have seen in the pandemic, also before that, is that there is a more growing need to have an integrated value chain ecosystem around the major industries. So major industries, again, oil and gas, petrochemicals. Now moving down to the derivatives, to the downstream of chemicals industry, we know that the investments will be going in that direction once after this big bite being digested with this merger. But where are we in that game? Where is local manufacturers? Where's INMA Steel in that? Today, I would say we are very well positioned to localize and to drive technology transfer programs to the local entities. We know that being close to customers in terms of delivery and in terms of service and after sales service is becoming a necessity. It's no more an option. We've been talking about Ictiva that has been launched in 5 years back, but actually we know that Ictiva, although by name it's very new, but by DNA, it has been in the DNA of Aramco since inception, I would say. I've been dealing in that field for the past 30 years or so, and always there has been an encouragement and push towards leading and managing technology transfer programs and increasing local content. This, of course, has so many impacts. There's an impact, of course, on the growth of the local companies. There's an impact of career opportunities for our young Saudi talents. And we need to be in the heart of that. We need to be in a position in the heart of that. Now, of course, here we're talking Schlumberger is there, Rockwell is there. I've been lucky enough also in my previous jobs also that I was engaged heavily with Rockwell, being a system integrator in one of our entities that I was managing. We have discussed several localization programs with Schlumberger. Before that, even when I was in Schneider, I was myself managing a major technology transfer program to the country in the oil and gas field. So if we see that, in fact, this has been in the DNA, it has been in the thought, it has been in the heart of our major clients, whether talking about Aramco, Sabek, or even Ma'aden, it has been there since ever. Now, what is our obligation, I would say, as a local manufacturers, is to make sure that we have the right infrastructure to accommodate these localizations. So we have been, for example, in INMA Steel and Turkey Group in general, we're subsidiary of Turkey, we have been very much engaged with the localizations of technologies and technology transfer programs. So we had several running programs that has been going in and partnerships and agreements with the major OEMs around the world. The latest of them, probably you heard about it, which is Sawafi Porets. So it's a major industrial technology transfer program that is going on today. At INMA Steel, we have been also engaged with several OEMs and solution providers to localize the technologies. Again, the message today is clear. Whether it's from the end user with the Ictiva, Nusanid, and different programs that has been launched, or even from the OEM side, we have been, meetings and engaging with different OEMs and solution providers over the past period, even during the pandemic, and everybody understands that this is the way forward. This is where we need to go. This is part of the Vision 2030. This is part of the Ictiva program. Even before it was an Ictiva program by name, it's part of the preparation that is being taken in the country by local manufacturers. It's part of the DNA of our corporates also in Turkey. So we know that we have the appetite. In fact, we've been also expanding in our manufacturing facilities, expanding in our capabilities and our engineering skills and competencies.
Right.
We do understand that this is the way forward, and we need to go there and we need to do there. And this is not a one-man show. This is not a one-man game. This is really a collaboration between corporates. It's collaboration between people who are trying really to move in the same direction. We have implemented several technology transfer programs. I mean, either here and or even in the past, and we have been hearing the same message almost from everybody. And also, of course, here today you have Rockwell and you have Schlumberger, our gurus in their fields. And I've worked heavily, closely with Rockwell. We have done amazing things. They are really expert in the field when it comes to processes, and they have a genuine, very nice, I would say, growth through intermediaries programs. And we've been lucky to work closely with them and to develop that. So really, you can find that this is the way forward, and everybody believes in it, and everybody is working towards it. So after the pandemic, or with the new normal that new abnormal that we're going forward, this is becoming even a more and more necessity, and it's something that we will all drive through.
Sure. Thank you, Muntaser. Safwat, Muntaser gave me the perfect lead to jump onto you and ask you about opportunities going forward. You did mention to me earlier that many services companies will be considering, of course, mergers and JVs as part of some sort of consolidation process, and also to offer full stream solutions to the domestic industry. What important trends and market dynamics do you foresee for services companies involved in the nation's energy sector going forward?
Yeah, thank you, Peter. Yeah, as we spoke about, mergers and opportunities for diversification. So Ziad and Muntaser spoke about opportunities in the oil and gas sector and the downstream industry and all these things. But if you look at the Vision 2030, you will see that one of the main things in the Vision 2030 is diversification of the Saudi economy outside of the oil and gas or the hydrocarbons. And through the last couple of years, we have seen a lot of opportunities in a country like Saudi that encourage all the investors from all over the world to come and invest in Saudi, specifically in mining, in metals, in other industries like tire industry, automotive industry, consumer products goods, food and beverage, pharmaceuticals. All these is, there is unbelievable opportunities for manufacturers from all over the world to come and invest in Saudi in industries like this. The government is supporting the mining industry big time. There is a huge investment through Ma'aden from the government side in the mining industry. Also, the metal industry is grown very fast in the country. The aluminum industry, Saudi become one of the main producers of aluminum in the Middle East and in the world. Putting these two together, you have the metals and you have the polymers or the stuff that comes out of oil and gas, then you have all the raw material required for almost everything. For tire industry, energy is available, the polymers is available, everything is available, and we know for sure now that there is international layers that they are really considering Saudi to start in tire manufacturing. Automotive industry is another very interesting industry that we highly believe that Saudi would be a very interesting place to start automotive manufacturing in Saudi. Food and beverage, you talk about the geographic location of Saudi Arabia and their position to produce a lot of food and beverage stuff and export it to all the Middle East countries, to Africa, and all the focus on Africa going forward from all the countries, and Saudi with the geographical location, they have an edge there of really investing in food and beverage, pharmaceutical industries. And in Rockwell, we believe in all that. We are working with OEMs, we are working with international producers, and we try to be part of the plans of all those manufacturers if they want to start manufacturing in Saudi. My colleagues, they mentioned about Sagia as well. We Rockwell as a local company, we are under Sagia. So Sagia is one of the very good initiatives from the Saudi government to facilitate for international companies to come and start business in Saudi Arabia.
Right, perfect. Thank you very much, Safwat. Indeed, that was a comprehensive answer. And that takes me to you, Gavin. One topic that perhaps we haven't touched upon when it comes to opportunities, that's really the role of the private sector. We have seen an ambitious stimulus package announced by the government to support the private sector, indeed to support small and medium-sized enterprises, which eventually make up close to 90% of all businesses in the kingdom. And on top of that, obviously, asset integrity and asset optimization have become extremely important even after the previous oil price shock in 2014. Now, what new opportunities and emerging trends do you expect to see for companies such as Zamil operations and maintenance to eventually improve and maximize asset life cycle and reliability throughout the energy value chain in the country?
Look, I really feel there are huge opportunities across oil and gas, power, water, renewables, defence, facilities management, all these different sectors, all these different opportunities. The market in Saudi, as I said before, just needs a sort of eyes open approach to it. For me, and strategically where we as a company are going is a further investment in technology, which gives us the ability to do things differently, do things better, help support asset integrity, operational efficiency, and help to continue to develop a homegrown labour pool. What, as I mentioned before, also what coronavirus pandemic has taught us is that we shouldn't rely on imported labour. We should have homegrown labour. We should have a further investment in technology. The flip side to that is because Saudi Arabia has grown up on imported labour, and in some cases low-cost imported labour, some services are still labour inefficient because of the relative low cost of the inefficiency. So any service company, local or international, looking to come to Saudi Arabia cannot come as what I would call a Me Too contractor, cannot come as a contractor that wants to do what everybody else wants to do, because then it's a race to the bottom against a defined scope of work with an L1 bid award that doesn't benefit anybody. So it's about investment in technology, new ways of working with customers to make them understand the demonstrable benefits of such technology, and really investing in the kingdom. Because then there is a business model that has longevity, that is win-win for all parties, and as I say, offers value in terms of asset life, optimization, cost efficiency, etc., etc. So it's about really embracing technology, embracing Vision 2030, seeing the link between localization, technology, Vision 2030, and putting in a package to sell to end users.
Right. So I guess the consensus here is that Vision 2030 indeed brings plenty of opportunities to the industry ecosystem and all the players, and we are excited, to follow the developments, obviously in the renewable sphere. So, which set out an ambitious target to build 58, I think 60 gigawatt of renewable energy generation by the end of this decade, which will present plenty of more opportunities for players coming into the sector. Thank you very much for your comprehensive answers. With that, we can quickly move into the Q&A session. I'm going to read through some of the questions and address to you. But before that, I would like to pull up our second poll question, which everyone is going to have enough time to respond to throughout the Q&A session, which should take around 10 minutes. So let's see. And it says, considering global uncertainties, how do you view Saudi Arabia's oil and gas investment outlook beyond 2020? I am sure about the answer of our panelists, yet we do have 4 different multiple choice answers. So positive, stable, risky, or negative. It would be interesting to think about Saudi Arabia. So let us know. And with that, I do have a couple of very, very interesting questions coming through here for all the panelists, some of them specifically to 1 or 2 panelists. I'm just looking them through as we speak. There is one here that I think would be best to be addressed to you, Safwat, coming from through and says, do you believe that the legal framework that's needed to regulate digitalization in the country is moving at the pace required to achieve the kingdom's goals? And I'm sure that the gentleman here refers to the 2030 goals. So he's asking about the current legal framework to incentivize digitalization in the country.
Yes, I believe so. We in Saudi, we see that the customers actually believe in digitalizations more than other customers in around the area. So we see the pace of moving into digital world with the customers in Saudi is faster than what we see it with other customers in the area. We are in a very advanced stage in discussion with different type of customers in Saudi about how we can help them in better use of the data available in their sites and into transforming their operations to get use of visibility of better decision making, a lot of other things. And
right.
Yes, I believe Saudi is moving in the right direction in this. The government is supporting this big time. The programs around Modon and the digitalization program of the government. There is a lot of government programs that support the movement of the digital journey for the customers. And as I mentioned, it's very obvious to us as a technology provider that the Saudi customers are far advanced from customers in the Gulf and North Africa area in the digitalization journey.
Right. So there is the existing regulatory framework to incentivize digitalization. I see a very interesting question coming through here, and I'm sure this is going to be close to your heart, Ziad. It's in the area of preserving workforce. Mohammed Radi is asking us, what best strategies and tactics have you managed to use to get buy-in from your employees, to motivate them, to educate them about safety and customer relations during these challenging times?
Yeah, it is obviously something that we have been addressing with our employees since the beginning of the pandemic. I think there are key elements that made us succeed in our business continuity during this pandemic. I have to tell you that communication is a key factor, to communicate regularly for the workforce and transparently with the workforce of what myself and my team are doing in order to protect our employees and their families, and at the same time continue our business going forward for our clients. And I've been doing regular communications with my team on a weekly basis at the beginning, and then we made it every 2 weeks, and with questions and answers. So webinars like we're doing right now, where we had to take many questions of concerns of our employees, which we have addressed transparently. And moreover, the engagement continued. We do many virtual visits. We used to go to the field locations to do field visits for our employees. We're doing it through virtual calls these days since the pandemic. So regular close engagement with the population is a key factor. Establishment of our HSE organization and engagement with the medical consultants that we have and the local healthcare center to ensure that we have the proper healthcare attention for our employees and the emergency response plans for that. And many other factors where we used to put as mitigation measures for our employees, whether in the transportation modes where we have to reduce the number of occupants in buses, in vehicles, how we monitor our people movements, because to ensure that they are socially not gathering, for example. And more important for me, the feel of confidence about, us as leaders, making sure that the number one priority for us is really making sure that the safety and the well-being of our employees remains number one. And I have to tell you that because this pandemic is a global crisis, we had to work in collaborations with our customers.
Right.
And I have to say that Saudi Aramco has been very helpful and cooperative, working together in best practices and also with other service companies in this pandemic. So really, there were many initiatives that we have been doing that helped us actually to protect our employees, to protect our families, and also to remain operational in this vital sector to continue our business serving the whole, not only the country, but the whole world.
Of course.
So that the oil is still getting out and reaching other countries.
Surely, and maximizing opportunities for employees, that's clearly one of the most important, if not the most important contributors to business continuity, as you have mentioned earlier.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Indeed, very interesting. Thank you very much for that. Gavin, we have a gentleman here asking you about collaboration that currently exists between GCC member countries and GCC member companies when it comes to jointly facing this current threat of the pandemic and the oil price collapse.
I think any collaboration, whether it's with an overseas company, whether they're in the UAE, other parts of the GCC, or anywhere in the world, is pretty much the same. We have worked with partners where they have had some of their staff sort of stuck in Saudi Arabia when borders were closed. So we've made sure that their staff were looked after, that they were accommodated well, that they had no visa issues. We've worked very hard to make sure that their mental health is strong. It's very difficult if someone came to Saudi Arabia for a 2 or 3 month project and then finds himself stuck there for 6 or 7 months. So yes, we work closely with all of our partners. As for a GCC collaboration, I'm not sure of the exact nature of the question, but there are UAE companies that we work with in Saudi Arabia, and that business relationship works very well. It's very helpful in a way because the working week is the same. There's a very small time difference. So in terms of being able to make contact with each other, it's a very easy partnership to have. Sometimes in the past, if we've had partnerships with companies, say, based in North America, where our direct contact has been to North America, or companies in Australia, anywhere with a wide time zone can sometimes be a challenge. But right now, we're working well with all of our partners. We're supporting them, and we support our partners whether they're, a 1 hour flight away, an 8 hour flight away, a 14-hour flight away. For us, it's all about the partnership and the spirit that we enter into that partnership.
Absolutely. And I think the question precisely here referred to, the best practices that some of your neighboring companies are applying as we speak in other GCC countries, because we know that the GCC is very well known for always taking a culture of efficiency, especially when it comes to dealing with crises like this.
Very much so. Very much so.
Thank you very much, Gavin. Muntaser, there is one more last question here. That's interesting. Would be interesting to know the answer from a local manufacturer, and that says, is there any national initiative in place that would encourage local oil and gas services companies and manufacturers in the country to reduce their own CO2 footprint?
Yes, actually, that's an interesting question. And I would like to refer back to a statement I said in the beginning, that we're trying to do more with less. And when I say with less, I mean is that we want to do more production with less human intervention, but also with less CO2 emission, with less, I would say, using or depleting of our resources, of our natural resources. So that is something important for us. And in fact, we have at the group level today, at the Turkey holding level, we have a major sustainability program. So we established KPIs and monitors for our consumptions of everything. So we're talking about consumption of power, of natural resources, of water, our disposition, and we're trying to monitor, and we're coming up with cost initiatives and sustainability initiatives to make sure that this is something, it's a journey that we're going on. In fact, our first sustainability level has been launched and issued a month ago. We're working on the second issue of the sustainability report at the group level. So this is led by our corporate in Al-Turki Holding. So the answer is yes, definitely. I mean, at the local level, at the local companies, we do care about the CO2 emission as we care about all the natural resources and how to efficiently use these resources. So for us, doing more with less is not only on the production level, it's not only on the workshop place, but in everything we do. So we're trying to be a more, I would say, efficient manufacturer in all the aspects, and we're trying to make sure that we protect, as we protect our employees, we protect our customers, we protect our core, but also we need to care and to protect the environment. So our sustainability model is really covering all the aspects, including the human factor, the natural resources factor, and the productivity aspect of it. And this is something really of a major concern, attention at the holding level, at the Turkey Holding. And of course, this is really cascaded throughout the organizations to all the subsidiaries and all the departments and all the employees.
Right. Thank you, Muntaser. Since we are talking about investment outlook and opportunities, let's take a look at the poll results to the question that we have raised at the beginning of the Q&A section, and let's see what's the opinion of our audience as to opportunities going forward. So, considering once again global uncertainties, how do you view Saudi Arabia's oil and gas investment outlook beyond 2020? The large majority of the audience thinks it's either positive, most of them think it's stable, which is obviously encouraging, and I guess that's all because of the different items that we have discussed as to how ongoing developments, either in upstream, downstream, or the renewable sector, will keep on contributing to the economic growth of the country. With that, we have come to the end of our panel discussion. So I would like to thank you for your comprehensive answers once again. I guess we can all agree that the current climate poses numerous political, economic, technological, and operational challenges, not only in Saudi Arabia, but in all other countries. And I guess one of the key takeaways from today's discussion is that change in the workplace and in the way companies adapt to the new reality can only come through collaboration, by embracing innovation and enhancing local capabilities. Saudi Arabia is and will remain, as you all said, one of the top oil and gas, and I go beyond that, energy investment hotspots going forward. The country seems well prepared to tolerate the pain of the low oil prices, of course, with its production costs being relatively low, among the lowest in the world. And today's webinar once again showed to me, and I guess to our entire audience as well, that that sort of discussion is really shifting from purely reducing that unit cost or asking for discounts to jointly working together to identify solutions and eventually achieve cost optimization. So I think it's evident to all of us that the kingdom's modernization and diversification program lives on, moves forward, and is getting stronger despite the pandemic and the lower pricing environment. On my end, I would like to personally thank to all our panelists for taking their time and sharing their perspectives. We have more and more questions coming through, but we won't have time now to answer all of them. If you have any specific questions addressed to any of our panelists, we will make sure to get it through to them, and hopefully we can send you the answers. So we definitely work on that. I would also like to offer special thanks to INMA Steel and Schlumberger, our lead sponsors to today's webinar. We much appreciate your support, of course. And we will have more events coming up, so please be on the lookout at the NRGA website, thenerga.com, for our schedule. And with that, gentlemen, this session ends. In my end, everybody take care, stay safe, of course, stay socially distanced. We look forward to seeing all of you in the countries, and watch out for others. Have a great day ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.